Welcome to Overtime, the podcast. Overtime is a podcast dedicated to all things watches, particularly in the micro-brand and affordable range. I'm Praka, and this is my co-host, Justin.
We are two watch enthusiasts based out of Perth, Western Australia. Join us as we discuss our thoughts on new releases, share our personal experiences, and offer our insights on building a collection.
Whether you're a seasoned enthusiast or just starting your journey, Overtime will keep you entertained with informative insights and casual conversations.
Let's get started.
How's it going, Justin? How's your week?
Yeah, pretty good week. Was a lovely start to the week. Sun was shining and was absolutely destroyed yesterday afternoon when the wind and the rain came in, but still a good week. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Not too bad. The family's all been, the boys have been a little bit crook this week, which is not the best. But overall, we made the best of the sunshine on the weekend. Went out for a couple of bushwalks, actually. A couple of sweet wildflowers. Had some, obviously took some content shots with the watches.
Yeah,
with a couple of wildflowers and stuff. But no, it was good. It was definitely a good week, and managed to watch the last group game of the Matildas, the Australian women's football team, and they had to win, and they won convincingly against Canada, which was awesome.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
and they're the reigning defending champions, right?
They were the Olympic champions, I think.
Olympic.
Yeah, that's right. So it was a big win, and it was a statement win. So yeah, it was awesome. It was good to see his support that people are giving to not just football, but women's football or women's soccer in Australia. So it's great to see.
Yeah, I think I've seen was the number 4th watched program in Australia for this year so far. So huge ratings coming through there.
That's huge.
While we're on sport too, Sunday afternoon I went to the West Coast game, and it's the only I've been a member for a long time, and this is the first year I've kind of cancelled it, which was due to having kids and not having the time to go in as much, and it's been a rough year for us. And the one game we went to, we managed to pull off a win. A very dominant first half of the game, awesome crowd, awesome vibes, and then the chase began, and it was the most nerve-wracking 10 to 15 minutes of one goal game I've ever kind of sat through, even though it was a bottom of the table clash. But I love sport.
Yeah, no, the wooden spoon clashes are normally the most nerve-wracking. And maybe you're the good luck. You might need to go more often. Maybe West Coast might win a bit more games.
Oh, there was so much passion. You kind of forget, Sunday afternoon, 2:45, it was raining. It was good to see. I think it was 48,000 turn out to the game.
Awesome.
So it was awesome to get out and see the boys play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Optus Stadium definitely turns it on. I've been to a Freo game, actually, Freo Essendon game before, and it was a while back now, actually. But yeah, it was a really good game. And for the listeners that don't know what we're talking about overseas, we're talking about AFL, Australian rules, football as well. We've got many codes of football in Australia, and I guess before we jump onto our wrist checks for today, I just wanted to shout out to all of our listeners out there, and we really mean it out there. Look, we've got people in obviously Australia, we've got people in the US, UK, Canada, we've got people in Italy, Malaysia, Sweden, Switzerland, France, Japan, Germany, Finland. I can keep going. So really, I want to thank everyone, and me and Justin, we're just absolutely stoked about this. So
yeah, it is the weirdest concept to think. I'm sitting in my little homemade office for work. Chatting to a mate about this watch stuff, and there's people in the Republic of Moldova listening to it, which is awesome. It's such a cool feeling.
It is such a cool feeling, and look, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys and girls so much out there, and please keep supporting us, and we'll keep dropping the content. All right, let's get on with today's show then. Let's go on with our wrist checks. What have you got on, Justin?
Today I did a 2-watch day. So to work, I was up driving the hills of Perth and decided the Straton was going to be on the wrist again. So like I said earlier, rainy day. I don't know, the distortion in the dial when you kind of get some treetop cover and a bit of cloud. Beautiful watch. And then for my afternoon walk and kick of the football, it was bucketing down with rain, but the kids still said we're going to push through. I went with the Tudor Black Bay for this afternoon. And I don't know, I feel I haven't worn this as much as of late. And then I put it back on Saturday and just kind of remembered why it is the top of the collection and the favorite for me. It's just, the perfect to watch for myself. And as today's topic, we're going to get into sizing. That played a huge decision of purchasing this watch.
Nice.
But what about yourself? What are you wearing today?
I haven't changed the watch today. I've just worn the same one. I have worn my Oris Divers 65 Glow. It's my one of my top in the collection. I wouldn't say it's my top in the collection. Look, it's as we've spoken about before, a simple diver, everyday really watch. And one thing that I noticed today, not that I noticed today, I've noticed this before, but I just absolutely love the bezel action in this, and I might just give the audience a little bit of ASMR and just hear.
I got the start. It might not be coming through.
Okay. All right. Well, basically, it sounds fantastic, and it's just another level compared to some of my other watches. And it's very satisfying. But no, apart from that, just been wearing this today, and again, another piece that I haven't worn in rotation for a nice last couple of weeks, and it's just good to chuck back on. All right.
Yeah, beautiful. That's the Oris has some pretty far to the left and far to the right dials, and I feel like that falls very in the middle of being very smart, very casual.
Yeah,
beautiful watch, and on the bracelet you now have as well. Awesome.
Thank you. All right, well, let's get on with today's topic. Today's topic is Watches 101, sizing and straps. Justin, please kick it off.
I feel like we needed the dun music at the end there because, watches and choosing a first watch can be pretty overwhelming, as I found out in my first experience. So after my fashion watch era, thank God it was small, decided to go into just your normal Prouds, I think it was, that I went into, and said dive watch is what I'm looking for. So this is before I found YouTube or was on any type of forums for watches. It was just, I want a dive watch. I was doing a bit of snorkeling. It was before I had kids. That's what I want. And to be honest, I can't remember why dive watch was in the head. There was a reason for it, but I can't remember. But I ended up walking out with a Tissot C-Star, I think it's 1000, the quartz chronograph, which was just a huge, hefty, beautiful blue, to be honest. The color was gorgeous on it. And the depth to the dial and subdials was great. But that experience was full on because I went into quite a big Prouds and they showed me many, many dive watches with different types of dials and bezels, and I had no idea what I was looking at. So I guess to kick this off, what are we considering when going in? For me, and I think for yourself as well, brand plays a huge part of it, first up. And that was something that I didn't really have a huge knowledge of on my first experience. What about yourself?
Yeah, I didn't even consider about brand. It was more about, this looks cool. This
better times.
Yeah, I think that might fit my wrist. I'm not sure. Quartz, auto. I don't know. Like, it didn't even matter. So, it was just luck of the draw, really. And it was overwhelming. Of being honest, it's very overwhelming.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I like to kick off early on this one is price point is probably a big deal here. That's where I went in with a set price point where I didn't want to spend more than, I think it was 500 at the time. I thought that was a huge amount to spend on a watch after, buying movements for 120, $200 maximum.
Yeah.
So that was a big factor here. And I think the Tissot cost me around $850, so I thought I'd absolutely stretched and bowled out on a awesome Swiss-made watch, and thought it was the absolute, the bee's knees. But quickly after that, the obsession began, and that's where, I kind of learned more about the space. But with that watch is where I wanted to lean into the topic here: is bracelet or strap. That was not a question in my mind, because bracelet was. The bracelet was it. There was no chance of it being a rubber strap. There was no chance of it being a leather. NATO, it's all like it was always bracelet in the beginning for me. So what about you on that? Like I know you like your leather. You introduced me to NATOs as well.
Yeah. Look, and really, like, you know, like putting it into context for sort of why we're talking about all of this. It may seem a bit strange that I guess we're bringing this up in a watch podcast. Like, why are we going down to such nitty-gritty details? And to be honest, we decided that we would do this series of watch 101s for, look, all the people that are new to this hobby or enthusiasts that would like to bring like a family or a mate, you know, into the hobby. Because it's so, I guess when you've been in the hobby for a while, all these terms like, you know, the brands or the sizes or the, you know, you talk about millimeters and case sizes and bracelet straps, you know, quartz, automatic, the history and all this sort of stuff. It almost seems like second nature. But really it's not, you know, it's taken us a while to get used to that. So really we thought, well, let's launch this series and we'll call this the Watch 101. And we thought that this would be the perfect time to launch this series and call it the Watch 101. And we're going to go with sizing and straps. So today's episode is Watch 101, sizing and straps. Let's kick it off with sizing, because you did mention that your first watch was something that was quite hefty, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is now something. It's interesting. If I got into the hobby now, I think it would have changed, which I think is a weird concept because I went into the hobby not knowing anything about it or, you know, where I wanted to be, what I wanted to collect, no idea. But nowadays, knowing how much wrist presence a big watch can bring and a small watch can bring makes my understanding of how confusing it can be so much more real. For example, the little Omega that I wear brings so much wrist presence because its dial is so in depth. There's some very nice touches, very nice finishing. There's a lot going on there. So there's a lot of wrist presence. And then when I swap over to Tudor Black Bay, very, very vanilla dial, very plain, very traditional, but still brings a huge wrist presence in the depth of the case itself, the dial, the color, the gilt. It's an interesting topic.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and really the nuts and bolts of it, or really the nitty gritty of it is, you know, when we're talking about a watch, we're talking about case size, and the case, like really breaking it down, is the watch head. I think that's what sort of the easy way to say is the watch head. So the watch head is something that is generally set, like when someone says the size of a watch or a size of a watch head, it's normally like 40 millimeters, 42 millimeters, 38 millimeters. And, you know, that's how it's sort of said. But like, as Justin said, that doesn't quite tell the picture. There's more to it.
Yeah. And then which we'll get into, I'm sure we'll get into it. We'll get into Seiko case magic here in terms of case size, but photos, posts really doesn't do anything justice when you are looking for something that you've not tried on. When you actually go in and try something on and get the real feel of size compared to wrist presence, that's kind of where the door opens, and that's when the floodgates begin. So what is your ideal case size?
Okay, well, how I got to my ideal case size. So I have a like 6.3, 6.4 on a good day, circumference wrist. So for all the listeners out there that are wondering, what are you talking about when you're talking about 6.3, 6.4? So basically, the simplest way to do it is grab yourself a piece of string and wrap it around your wrist, get the circumference, put it on a ruler, measure it out, and then that is your size of your wrist. For some reason, in the watch community, we go with inches. Like everyone knows, in Australia, we do metric, but wrist size, we're talking about circumference, we're talking about inches. So 6.4 is my wrist size, or when I talked about wrist size. So when I'm picking out a watch nowadays, is the key dimension is not so much the case diameter, because it's easy to say, okay, a 40 mil watch will fit me. But a 40 mil watch, as you know, as we spoke about before, by Case Magic, a
Mhm.
40 mil watch from Seiko versus a 40 mil watch from Hamilton versus a 40 mil watch from Tissot versus a 40 mil watch from Citizen is completely different. So
Whole different experiences.
yeah, exactly. So, and really that comes down to the case shape as well. So, you know, when we're talking about typical case shapes, we're talking about your divers and your, you know, it's very much a traditional case shape where it's a sort of a circular presence with your lugs sort of, you know, sticking out, and where your lugs are sort of the, I guess, the pointy bits of your watch. Like we're really making it simple here. You know, the bits that point out, you know, outside of the circular bit of the case, and that's where your bracelet or your strap attaches to. That, you know, usually that's length, you know, which is called the lug to lug length, is something that's the magic number for me.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. And I've experienced bit of troubles with lug to lug in the past. So I bought a Zilos Mako 3 in titanium with the storm grey dial. So it was beautiful dial with that kind of tone that titanium brings. Loom, everything was spot on about that watch, but the case size was 40 mil.
Okay.
And I can't remember what the lug to lug was, but I suffered from the lugs starting to kind of rub in the wrong spots on the wrist because it just didn't conform where it needed to. It was definitely for a slightly smaller wrist than myself. And I should have gone for the 42 mil Great White, I think they call that, is the other version of the Mako. But yeah, and that sort of stuff does bug you. That was one of the Zilos that I got and moved on quite fast because it just couldn't be worn due to irritations. But stuff you don't consider in the shop when you're under pressure and under the lights and the dial's cool. You just don't know.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm more confused now than I was entering the hobby about case size. Like I'm so conflicted. I've tried on so much smaller size watches lately because that's kind of where my interest is lying. But also started battling thickness as I get smaller in the watches. So like the Tudor Black Bay is a thick slab sided case, and that's what I love about it. I love looking down and seeing that completely high polished flat surface on the side of the case. Whereas I tried on that 37 mil Citizen, and it was just the smallness of the case size made it so much more chunkier, and it gave this wrist presence that just like stood off the wrist. It didn't really conform. It didn't slip under the cuff anymore. It was just weird. I've been in the hobby a little bit now and still battling with these these demons that are the newbies or beginners struggle with.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and what you just said just then is, hey, I've got these couple of watches and I know the measurements, so I know the rough numbers. And look, the numbers will tell you a story. Case size, the lug to lug will tell you a story. And say, okay, lug to lug, for example, is 40. For me, anything less than about a 47 millimeter lug to lug, or roughly about 47, 48 even. Works well for me, because basically lug to lug is the distance that goes across your wrist when you're looking down on it. But in saying that, I can have a watch which is 38 millimeters. For example, my Hamilton khaki feel mechanical, it's a 38 millimeter watch, but it has a lug to lug of 47 mil. Whereas I have a Seiko Turtle, which is, I think, remind me off the top of my head, I think it's a 45 millimeter in diameter, or 44.3. So it's quite huge, right? And if you think about it, you say, hey, that's a difference of nearly 6.3 millimeters in case difference. So there's no way I can wear that. But in terms of lug to lug, it's only a mil difference. So yeah. That's
where with the Tudor Black Bay, you're looking at, I think it's 50.1 lug to lug on the 41 mil, which sounds crazy. It sounds huge, but the way the lugs wear, and I think it's quite perfect for the size, because the Tudor is thicker, and I think it makes that whole feeling a lot better, being slightly thicker, slightly bigger. It just evens itself out, it levels itself out. But the way it conforms, the way the bracelet's done is a huge part of making that larger watch wearing experience better.
For sure. And really, the wrist presence is huge, right? Like you said, like you could have a watch, a case, which might be sort of really big, but then if it sort of drapes nicely on your wrist, like your lugs sort of bend down on your wrist, or the bracelet itself articulates such that it conforms to your wrist, all of a sudden you're wearing a much bigger watch with no issues.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but it just happens. Just like when you put it on, you try it, you just kind of know. And I think I had that experience. I tried on a Panerai for some reason a while ago, and that was a bracelet, and it just didn't feel the same. Like nothing can form the same due to that cushion style case. Those really I don't know what those lugs are called. If you know off the top of your head, feel free to jump in.
For which watch? Sorry, mate.
The Panerai, they're kind of those wiry, thin lugs.
Wire. Is it the Lyre lugs? Are they called Lyre lugs?
Maybe. But anyway, that style, nothing conformed about that to me. And I do think like that case the case I tried on was quite large. It's probably for a bigger wrist than mine, but it just it made the watch feel cheap because of my wearing experience. Just wasn't great. But yeah, I think going back to the Seiko Turtle, that is the best example of large watch done right. It's just perfect. The reason I've got one back in the collection, the reason I want a second one in the collection at some point, I think it's just perfect. It sits perfect. Bracelet, it articulates. With a rubber, it articulates. Everything's spot on about that case.
Yeah, for sure. And just going back to what we said about the sizes of watches. Look, I it really is a combination of your lug to lug, your case diameter, your thickness, and the way that the lugs basically are shaped, and also the way the bracelet drapes. I mean, look, if you're wearing it on a leather strap or a NATO strap, then that's a different story. But we're talking about bracelet here. But anyway, we'll get to that topic next. It really makes a big difference. So, I think something for the listeners, and for the listeners, family or friends that would love to sort of, when they're thinking about stuff like this, is think about it holistically. It's not just, oh, this is a 44 mil watch, I can't wear it. Or this is a 46 mil watch, I can't wear it. Or if this is a 36 mil, it's too small. But, like look at the Khaki Field Mechanical is a perfect example. It's a 38 millimeter watch that has a lug to lug of 47 millimeters. And, and in comparing to say a Zelos 38 millimeter, I'm looking at the Aurora. Is it Nova? Sorry.
Oh, the Field. Yep.
The Nova. Yep. The Zelos Nova 38 mil. So both 38 mil watches, but it's 44 mil lug to lug. So which one's going to wear better for bigger wrists? The Hamilton will wear better for bigger wrists, and the Zelos are going to wear on a smaller wrist, even though they're both 38 millimeter watches. So, it's just something to really keep an eye on when you're buying online, especially, and really, I guess how we're in the space that we're in, the microbrand affordable space. You are buying online most of the times if you're looking at micro brands. So, those are the kind of things to really focus on.
Yeah, and another big thing to focus on for me, for the listeners, don't worry about what other people are saying in the forums too much. Like it's all good to wear 36. It's all good to wear 34. It's all good to wear 30 or 32 if it is your thing. Like if it's yours, you like it, you love it. Don't stress. It's all good. It doesn't matter what David's saying on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. No, well put. I think we touched on this a little bit a couple of episodes ago, is it's easy to get influenced by social media or by, some forum posts and saying, hey, you have to wear a watch that fits, or you have to wear this size. It's just not true. Like, if I did that, I probably wouldn't have bought my Oris Divers 65, or I probably wouldn't have, my Tissot Gentleman, in that whole magic number space. Oh, it's bigger than my magic number lug to lug, which is 46 is my sweet spot. I went 48, but listeners can't see, but you can see. Look how well it fits on my wrist. Like it it just fits great. And that's because the bracelet articulates at the right point. The case, has a nice shape where it bends on the wrist. It's not just flat. It has that sort of concave shape.
Yep.
Yeah, it works. So, yep. I mean, Justin, you're bang on right. If you can try it on.
Yeah, if you can try it on, that's good. But buy what you love. That's the main part of the hobby. That's where you're going to be the most happy. And while we're on case size, case as well, not just sizes, case materials. This is something that I never thought would enter my head when I got into the hobby. I know I tried on like a copper toned Citizen years ago, a long time, and I thought this is kind of cool, but not my vibe. And then when I got into the microbrand space, looking at bronze and titanium changed the way I looked at anything but stainless steel, because it wears so good. And that's where I think a lot of people as well, like the Tissot C Star that I own, even the Black Bay, extremely heavy, a lot of wrist presence when you're swinging or going for a walk. Even kicking the footy today, you can feel it's there. Yeah. But you chuck that into titanium, it's a whole different experience again, but you're wearing the same watch. So I've owned a couple of titanium pieces from Zelos, and the hammerhead was the big standout there. So the hammerhead's quite a big case, small dial, but compared to the stainless steel version of said watch, completely different wearing experience, a lot more enjoyable wearing experience for a bigger watch. So whole other thing to think about again.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, again, bit more for the listeners to think about. But yeah, titanium is one of the things that I've had experience with as well. And I've had a titanium field watch from RZE, which is a micro brand out of Singapore. Beautifully done, very simple watch. Just Arabic numerals, simple field watch, bead blasted titanium case. It was light. It was beautiful. I'm pretty sure the strap that it came on was a rubber strap, weighed more than the actual watch head itself. Yeah. It was incredible. And it was it was awesome. It was 200-meter water resistant. It was screw down crown. I took it, in the pool. I ran with it. It was such a, and in it, like you said, it felt like wearing nothing on the wrist. And sometimes you want that, but sometimes, I mean, I don't know about you, Justin, but when I first started collecting, I wanted something heavy on my wrist because I'm I'm like, hey, I've paid for this watch. If it's heavy, it's quality. You know what I'm saying?
That was the Tissot C Star. That was the thing. Like, it was so in your face. It was so blue. It was big. The chronograph pushers had the little screw down crowns as well. So big chunky crowns around it. That's what it was. It was heavy. It was big. It was in your face, and that's what I was purchasing for. It's like, I spent $850 on this watch. So I'm glad I'm not that person anymore. But it's. It like we said from the start, it can be overwhelming, depending what you're buying. But just before we move on from case as well, back on materials, bronze, another thing you may experience if you are in that micro space and you're not thinking affordable, like Seiko, Citizen, that type of area for your first kind of purchase. I feel I've got a real soft spot for bronze. That's not a joke about it being a softer metal, but a cool watch if you want something that's going to look different due to patina. I've had 2 bronze pieces now, and I've moved them both on because it wasn't for me in the end. But in the summertime, going out on the boats or going for a snorkel and stuff, you do get a whole different wearing experience again, where you can go from extremely shiny when you reset the patina with some vinegar or some lemon juice, whatever you use, and then going back to like getting some hues of green corrosion and some crusty bits, and your oils from sunscreen and summer, they all soak into this watch, and it starts producing this really unique pattern. You start to see blotches pop up. And I remember the first time it happened is when I got so obsessed with it. I had a mother of pearl Zelos Hammerhead 3, and just in the right light, the mother of pearl dial with the like spots of green from being out on the boat, and then these little darker patches, it just made for such an awesome wearing experience. And I would encourage anyone to actually give bronze a crack, despite what you kind of read and what you see. I think it's an awesome experience, start to finish. It's very unique. It's very fun.
Yeah. I haven't personally had the experience with bronze watches, and and I guess I just want to circle back on the word patina. Patina is, just for the listeners who are not really sure what patina is, it's basically like a form of corrosion. It's it's a bit of fading, bit of darkening, bit of signs of age, and it happens. It's like a natural, almost like an oxidization sort of process, and it happens naturally on copper and on bronze. And in bronze watches, especially, each manufacturer have their own sort of I guess their composition that they use for their bronze watches. Like a Tudor bronze watch will age differently to a different brand's bronze watch. It just depending on what kind of, I guess, materials they end up mixing it. It's not just pure bronze. And there's so many bronze watches out there. And even, I mean, I urge, if you do want to try a bronze watch, but you don't really want to spend a lot of money on it, check out AliExpress. You'd be surprised that, you've got Steel Dive watches that are bronze. You've got Seagull watches that are bronze. These are really inexpensive brands that are, obviously sort of homage watches and Chinese brand sort of watches. But hey, Boltony watches as well. There's some, and even Saint Martin, which is another homage brand. They've got some cracker bronze watches, and it's a good way of trying bronze without having to pay that sort of big money for it.
Yeah, while you're on that space too, it's a cool space where you can kind of get a homage, like a Seiko Captain Willard, and get it in bronze with like green. You can actually have some really cool color to case material play. But yeah, like I said, I'd encourage anyone to at least give it a crack once, because you go through some weird feelings about it. I wore this bronze Zilos out on the boat and got a few spots of green on it. I thought, this is really cool. And then I spent it, took it on a full day of snorkeling and sitting by the beach, went for a skate afterwards, and you just kind of watch it happen. And then the next morning I woke up and I couldn't even twist the bezel anymore. I was like, oh crap, I broke the watch. What am I going to do? And, just when you go read in the forums, how do I fix it? What's wrong? And you realize this is how you reset it. And the first time I reset it and got it back to that real copper sheen pop of color, I was over the moon. I couldn't believe you could reset a watch and make it look better from the day it came out of the box. I was just like, holy, yeah, this is amazing. What I'll do, I'll pop a comparison photo up on Instagram of before and after resetting the patina for you guys to have a look at.
For sure. Fantastic. All right. Well, we've touched on sizing. We've touched on a little bit about case size, case materials, case shape. Hopefully that helps the newcomers to the hobby, or at least gives you guys a little bit of pointer. So let's move on from that, and let's move on to straps. So this one's a funny one. Look, so really, I've heard this many times, and previously from people who are new to watches or don't really know watches. They go, I don't really like that watch. And then I go, oh, okay, well, why don't you like it? And they go, I don't like that brown strap on it. Or they'll go, oh, no, I don't really like the metal bracelet. And you're like, well, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. You just change it. And the first thing's, oh, really? Can you change it? Yes, you can.
Won't that void the warranty?
Yeah, it's like, what? and honestly, that's probably the biggest inspiration for me, at least, on starting this watch series. It's that, like, yes, watch straps can be changed, and it sounds like, for someone who's been in the hobby for a while, it seems like, well, yeah, of course, but really it's not really a something that I guess the general population knows, right? Like,
yeah, even into the Apple Watch space, like we all know that person at work who goes running, swimming, sauna, everything in their Apple Watch, and they got that horrible, furry rubber strap on the Apple Watch. People at work who I kind of see and have these worn out straps. So you know someone that's got one that's that worn that the little metal button on those Apple Watch straps is kind of giving way now. That you can just tell them there is, not just Apple branded straps available. There is proper watch strap sites that supply the click-in mechanism for Apple Watches. They're so blown away that they can go get a different material that's got a pattern or a color, which yeah, you kind of, for us, is normal, very
Yeah.
normal, and a bit of an obsession at times. But for other people, it's just not in their train of thought whatsoever.
For sure, for sure. And we'll just caveat that it's okay, some integrated steel sport watches, you can't do it easily. I mean, I don't know, you've got you've got PRXs, you've got your sort of, you've got the Dorenzo, we've got going up, you've got your Citizen Sawyers, you've got what else you've got obviously your APs and IWC engineers and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure there's a way. Some of them do. Like, I think the PRX, you can change it. It's just a little bit harder to change it. So, but most watches, like 90% of watches out there, you can.
Yeah, and until recently, the PRX very expensive to change that strap out with the deluxe straps.
Exactly. Until the world of AliExpress took over and they're like, hey, we can do this too.
Yeah, so changing the strap is something I wasn't too fond of at the start of my collecting either. And towards the end of my culling of watches, that's kind of where I landed in conversations with yourself about wanting to spend more time enjoying my smaller collection, but still wanting to scratch an itch of something different, feeling something new. And I think at the time, the most exploration in straps I'd done was a Crafter Blue fitted strap to Seiko's. So I was starting to play with color, play with different materials and feel, and I guess not your average rubber strap either. We're talking about the rubber is cut and curved and finished to slot in just like your bracelet would. It's fitted to the watch head. But when you kind of opened my eyes to the world of NATOs, that was like a whole nother story, because I think it was summer when we started speaking about them as well.
Yeah.
And that's one thing on straps is weather and seasons plays a huge part in how a certain strap is going to wear. With expansion of wrists, might sound very strange, but with the heat and the cold, you get some shrinking and expanding. Sometimes bracelets aren't great to wear when it's extremely hot. Like over here in WA, we click 48, 49 degrees Celsius every summer, and it can be a rough experience if you've got a full metal bracelet clinging around on your wrist.
For sure. And you just, hit the nail on the head. Like, to be able to change your strap to the environment that you're in and to the activities that you're doing is huge. And
awesome.
Yeah, it's like it's the best thing ever. Like, seriously, you could not collect watches. You could just have one watch and just change your straps all the time, and you could do everything with that one watch. You can have your watch on a leather strap for when you're going out for dinner. You can have it on a bracelet for, your day-to-day going to work or whatever it is. And then you can throw it on a rubber strap for when you're doing water activities, and boom, there you go. There's your one watch collection done.
Yeah, I've done that for work. I've taken a watch to work on a Shout Out Geneva Blue leather strap, and done that for my my in-person meetings and presenting. And then when it's kind of go back out and see some of the team out in the field that are out doing things, it's time to go back on the rubber.
Yep.
And people do look at you a bit funny when you pull out your little tool and chuck a different color and different material strap on, and they've got no idea why, but it is extremely handy. And again, the experience changes.
Yeah, of course. And when we're talking about the little tool, we're talking about a spring bar tool. So again, for the listeners / the audience that will hopefully get a lot out of this, is we're talking about a spring bar tool. A spring bar tool is a tool that is used to change out straps. So basically, some watches have a basically drilled lugs. So where your strap or your bracelet connects to the watch head, which is the lugs, on the side of the lugs, there's a hole. So if there's a hole inside of the lugs, that's called drill lugs. And basically, on a spring bar tool, on one side you have a fork, and the other side you have a pusher, or basically just like a little thing that pokes out. If you have a drill lugs, you use that pusher. What you do is you push that spring bar, which is what's holding your strap or your bracelet in. And what it does is basically pushes the spring in, and then allows your spring to just, I guess, unload, and then you can you can just take out the strap or the bracelet or whatever it is. Sounds easier. Sounds a lot easier than how it actually is for the first time. I guarantee that. But persist.
I was literally about to say, do you remember your first experience with changing a strap? Because mine was horrific. I had a orange Seiko 5, one of the older models of Seiko 5, had a black unidirectional bezel. Really cool watch that I picked up for like $70 on Marketplace. And I bought a orange strap from Straps Co. And I was like, cool, it should be nice and easy. So I, changed over the strap, put the spring bar in, and then became the probably hour plus struggle of trying to get it and then watching YouTube and then going back, giving up, going back to YouTube, give it another crack. It was horrific. And then when I finally clicked and got one side of the spring bar in, I was like, oh, that's how it works. Went to the next one, same thing. Didn't get it. Had to start afresh. It was horrible. It was one of the more traumatic experiences of my life. But thank God for quick release. Quick release spring bars are a lifesaver.
Correct. So before we talk about quick release spring bars, shout out to, there's a few people on YouTube that show how to change bracelets and how to change straps and stuff. There's Long Island Watch. So Mark from Long Island Watch, he has a fantastic series of, little things on how to do stuff with the watches. Check it out. He's got this real basic, how do I change a watch strap? Go have a look and you'll be able to see how, I'm not going to say easy. Once you get it, it's easy, but it's not just about the technique or what you're doing. It's, the actual spring bar tool can make a difference. Like previously I've bought a watch strap that came with a spring bar tool and it wasn't the greatest. It was quite cheap and it just didn't really, the fork size was a bit too big. It just wouldn't fit properly in between the lugs and the straps, and I was trying to sort of jimmy out this spring bar and it was just silly. So I ended up I think I ended up stabbing myself in the finger trying to get it out. It was not fun, but
that hurts too. Those tools are very sharp when when you're actually putting some pressure on. It hurts.
I know. And I was like, one of my things was, that was my me time. I can change straps. I can enjoy this process. I'm enjoying my hobby, but it got really frustrating when I stabbed myself with the spring bar tool. But what I did do was I ended up investing in a Burgeon tool. So it was the Burgeon 6767F. We'll get that link in there. I think it's like the most basic Burgeon tool. So Burgeon is a Swiss watch tools maker, and it's a simple watch bar tool. So you got your spring, got the fork on one side, the poker on the other side, and honestly, it's been the best $40 or $35 I've ever spent in this hobby. It just works so well.
Yeah, I went on so I've got a different spring bar tool. I couldn't tell you the reference number, but it's got the fatter fork on one side, a skinnier fork on the other.
Okay.
But for drilled lugs, might sound a bit weird. I went on a first aid course for work one day. I don't want to incriminate myself, but I was just looking around the kind of office and found the needle to do taking blood at the office, and it fits perfectly in there. It's still sitting in my little box of tools here for watch collecting and hobbying. And it's been the only kind of pusher tool I've used the whole time. I've had it for about 5 years.
That's the worst. That's hilarious. Oh, that's so good. If it works, right?
That's it. But I guess last thing on spring bars, approach with caution. There's a funny meme that reminds me of how crazy spring bars can be. It's a spring bar sitting next to the International Space Station, and I think the caption was, my spring bar after I've pulled it down with the fork, and it's just absolutely shot across the room because they come out and you never see them again. Usually your toddler pulls one out like a year later and goes, "What is this?" Yep. And you go, "Oh, that's where it ended up." But they can fly out pretty ferociously.
For sure. I have definitely lost a spring bar too. And that's it. Some of those spring loaded bars fly. So I completely agree. And hey, it's it's actually not a bad investment to keep a couple of spring bars.
100%.
You never know when you need them. And I guess while we're talking about straps and spring bars and stuff, one of the key things to know of a watch is the size of the strap that you're putting on the watch. And that is determined by it's called the lug width. So basically the internal width of a lug is the size of your strap that you need to fit in it. And, and this comes to what you said, Justin, is people don't know that they can go get a strap other than what they're going to buy from the Apple store. You can get any strap as long as it is the lug width that it's going to fit that watch.
Yeah, I had no idea how to kind of tell that. I remember standing one afternoon while it was raining at work with the canopy of my work car up and a tape measure out on the lugs of this, like on the existing strap, just being like, I think it's around 20 to 22, but I can't tell.
Yeah.
And until my brain switched on and I decided to Google it. But yeah, it can be one of those things that completely skips your mind.
Yeah, for sure. And most watches are even. So they're 18 mil, 20 mil, 22 mil. But in saying that, there's a lot of watches that are 19 mil and 21 mil. So, my collection has plenty of 20 mil watches and 22 mil watches, but I also have 18 mil, 19 mil and 21 mil. So if you're thinking of, getting a bunch of straps to swap around, it might get a little bit expensive, but hey, it's probably cheaper than buying new watches, right?
Oh, this is my life with the Captain Cook. I love that watch, but I had so many straps for it. And then when I sold it, I was kind of like, oh, what do I do with all these 21 mil rubber and NATO straps now? There was just, okay. I don't know. It's my biggest gripe in the hobby is why do we have 19, 21 still a thing? Like, again, obviously there's something to do with case and design, but it's 1 mil. Surely we can make a lug slightly thicker by half a mil each side.
I feel you, man. I feel you. I mean, I kind of, I give vintage watches a pass because that's how it was, 18, 19 mil was just what it was. But we're talking about modern watches still having 21 millimeter. I'm looking at Tissot. I'm looking at Orient. I'm looking at Rado. I'm looking at, why? So 20, 22, just keep it easy. But hey, side note, not really for the listeners, but for you, I might take you up on some of those 21 mil straps. I do have a
for sure. I'll dig them out. I've got them stashed away in a sandwich bag somewhere. But it is weird. Those 19 and 21. It feels like when I read it as in like, oh, we've got 21 mil straps. Like it's we're fancy because we have a non-standard lug size. It's just get rid of it. I don't want it.
Yeah, it's almost like they have it because they want customers to go back and buy the straps from them. Like, for example, we're talking about the PRX, right? You can go to Tissot and buy a custom PRX strap, which cost, I don't know off the top of my head, like 100 and 120 bucks or something like that. Is that what it was? Anyway, it's not cheap. Okay. So for example, the leather strap, which is, I think the Tissot official leather strap, is $90. But, you can go to AliExpress or Strapify or all that, and you'll probably get it for a lot cheaper than that. It's almost, but the thing is, if you do keep it very uniform, like 21 or 19 or whatever, outside of those sort of 20, 22 mils, it's almost like the other manufacturers just won't bother making them because they're like, oh, it's a bit odd. We're not going to make it.
It has gotten better. Correct. As time has gone on since I've been in the hobby. There is definitely way more straps available. Yeah. Still a pain in the bum, though.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. And look, we can literally talk about this topic for an entire episode. It can be such a huge thing. But I think really the takeaway that I hope the listeners take away from this is that don't be afraid to buy a watch because you see it on a strap that you don't like. It can be changed 99% of the time.
Yeah, 99% of the time it can be changed and it can feel like a completely different watch. One last thing, don't worry about scratching the undersides of the lugs too much either. Like,
no one's seeing it.
No one's seeing it. Yeah, you know about it. It shouldn't hurt you. Yeah. But it's okay.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, when you're changing the straps, you might accidentally use a spring bar tool and sort of scratch the underside of your lug. That's happened a couple of times to me. I remember the first time it happened on my Oris, and I was like, But I very quickly went, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, my biggest strap fear was changing a bracelet on an Oris's World. It was changing the Arquus bracelet to a rubber I bought off of, I think I bought the Oris one, and
Sure.
the little screws on the end of the lugs on there, I dropped a screw in long shaggy carpet.
Oh no.
And I was just like, oh, that's it. It's over. I'm never going to get this back on a bracelet or a thing again. And somehow, managed to spot it out with the right light about an hour later after looking, just laying on the couch. But I don't know if there's too much more we want to cover on straps, but
no,
we could talk about it for days.
We could. And I think, next time maybe you need a magnet, just saying.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Keep a magnet, but don't, please, listeners, for the love of God, do not put a magnet close to your watch. Your watch, especially an automatic watch, will get magnetized. Your watch will not run in time. Don't put a magnet near your watch. So anyway, just a PSA warning.
You're saying magnet the carpet, not the watch.
Correct. Magnet the carpet to find the strap. So look, I think let's wrap it up there for today. I think we've introduced some great one-on-one topics for the listeners and the peers and the family of listeners, that hopefully they can go, hey, yeah, this is great. I'm learning something about watches, and hopefully the barrier of entry into watches is a little bit lower, and that's what we would love to do. We want people to come into the hobby, into the affordable microbrand hobby, and hopefully this helps.
Yeah, we've fallen into traps ourselves, and would like to help as much as we can for newbies to avoid that.
For sure. All right, well, let's get on with our something interesting topic of the week. Justin, kick us off.
Yeah, my something interesting this week is Christopher Ward. I feel like Christopher Ward is just dropping heater after heater with their releases at the moment. Like since the Bell, like they've always had great watches, but since the Bel Canto came out, it's just been awesome after awesome with them. It just doesn't stop. And today, I think it was today or last night, we had the new C63 Sealander GMT and just the standard three-hander come out. Now, the three-hander is, I'll touch on the GMT first. The GMT color is incredible. So we've seen Tiffany blue come and go. Or not come and go, it's stuck around. It's kind of less prevalent now. And it's cool to see brands starting to do their own hue of, you can definitely see in the sunburst, there's some Tiffany-inspired sunburst there, but it's standalone color. It's not it's just a nod to the trend, I think. But this whole, Explorer 2 bezel on the blue and orange seconds and GMT hand is beautiful. I love it. The bracelet, it's a new bracelet, right? It's a 5-link. Is it 5-link or is it just a Jubilee style? I should have read that before.
Yeah. No, I think it definitely is a new bracelet. It's the new, they're calling it the Consort bracelet. So it's actually
Consort.
Yeah, that's right. So previously they had the 3-link bracelet on these GMTs. So this Consort bracelet, it's almost like it's like a Jubilee, and it's a 5-link bracelet. So I'm assuming it's going to wear beautifully. It's just going to drape on wrists like you'd never believe. And it's interesting because I actually have this watch, but in the previous black dial, the C63 Sealander GMT, and I have it in the 3-link bracelet. And this one, it's it's a mix of the brush and the polish, and I think it works really well. The light catcher case, the Christopher Ward's light catcher case, which is something they're really known for, has that sort of mix of brushed and polished finish, and I think the bracelet really complements that.
Yeah, I was about to say on the website of the blue dial here, the GMT, the side profile shot where you see the polish all the way from the center of the crown to the last circle in the crown, and then that chamfered edge that's high polish where you're getting the light play off of those center links in the 5-link. It is just done to perfection. It's amazing. I love it. It's beautiful.
That's awesome. It's such a good release, and really it's the same watch, just refined. For sure. And what about the 3-hander?
Yes, this is the one that's really caught my eye. So I am loving that red/pink/purple is still kicking around, and I immediately, when I saw this red variant, which is Mulberry red, and I think Mulberry red's a very good description of it. This made me think this is what I wanted out of my Oris cherry dial. This is the pop I wanted, where I think the Oris was just slightly darker toned. I think this is one where when you're inside in darker light, you're still going to see it be very, very red opposed to going darker. And then in the outside, this is just going to shine. It's going to beam off into the sun. But yeah, 36, I think it is, 36 mil case. So we're talking smaller case size, but with a lot of that being dial size here and having such a colorful in-your-face dial, this is a great example of what we were saying before, is wrist presence is going to be pretty big on this, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And you're bang on right there. And I think they've done such a great job with their sunburst dials. My Christopher Ward that I've got is it's very muted, the dial. It's not very sunbursty. So this is a very unique take on it. And they've just done it well. The Mulberry reminds me a little bit of the fairer Discovery. I'm not sure if you remember we spoke about that in our purple episode. Yeah, so that's sort of, I guess that one's more of mulberry purple, and this is a mulberry red. It's a very two similar colors, just done very differently. And it's a great release. And like everything Christopher Ward, they do a lot with the money that you pay for. It may seem like their prices have creeped up, but that's really across the board. But I just think, yes, their prices have creeped up, but their quality and the finishing and how much they give you in a watch has definitely come up as well.
Yeah, that's it. Like this here is starting to give me those kind of Aquaterra vibes. It's beautiful and so legible for such a colorful dial as well. But my favorite thing about this watch is the hour hand. The hour hand is so good on this watch. It's so fat but so refined. It's just perfect. Colored dials for me definitely where my eye goes to. Where my collecting goes to. And I usually like a color match date wheel, but this is a great example of your standard white date wheel working very well just because of the thought that's gone into the rest of the dial and the indices at play. You see a lot of brands do a colorful dial and whack on an indice that's circle or we'll go circle, for example, and then whack a square date window in. It just stands out so much, but this is done so well. So huge fan of this here, from size to color to the knee bracelet.
Yep. No, I'm with you there too. Actually, the GMT version, it is color matched. So it has that teal. It works really well because it contrasts the orange GMT hand and the orange seconds hands very well. Whereas your three-hander, you don't need any more color because you've got your dial. So I think great conscious design choices, and that's what we love to see.
Yeah, it's good to know that, I know that's a huge thing in the community, especially at the affordable and micro level. So it's cool to see this. Christopher Ward is paying attention and listening to the customers.
Cool.
Sweet. What about yourself? What is interesting in your week?
So I have my ongoing search for a chronograph. I think I've spoke about this for at least the last episode and the episode before. I'm still trying to find a chronograph. I still don't know what I want. But I did come across a really cool chronograph, which I thought I'll let the listeners know. So this is a micro brand that has been revived. So it's an old brand. It's from 1926. It's a Swiss brand. It's called Nivada Grenchen. So Nivada Grenchen they released some really great watches back in the day. But they unfortunately during sort of, I guess, the rise of quartz, basically the manufacturer went broke. But recently the brand has been revived. So what they've done is they've taken basically old designs and just remade them. There's not so much of reinterpretation, but a lot of the watches are actually almost like a one-to-one, maybe some, obviously with modern parts and size difference and stuff. So yeah, this is called the Nivada Grenchen Chronoking Paul Newman Orange. Now, I'm just going to come out and say, I don't know about the whole Paul Newman thing. I don't know whether they have clearance of, with Paul Newman and actually being able to say that. But again, I'm not going to go into that. I have no idea. However, I'm guessing they're going with the style of the subdials, which is the Paul Newman Daytona. And the original watch had a Valjoux 772 movement in it. But this one is a watch. It's a 38 millimeter. So I'm pretty sure it's the exact same size as what it was in the old watch. But it's got a Seiko VK63A movement. So it's a Maker Quartz movement. And it's fantastic. I'm not sure if what are your thoughts on this watch? I really like the look of it.
Yeah, so I'm pretty early into my chronograph collecting. I think it's just beginning for me, thanks to the Seiko speed timer. It's interesting. I don't know how I feel about this watch. I think it's aesthetically extremely pleasing from first glance, and then I don't know if I'm thinking there's too much depth to it. There's a lot going on. Like I think I've said it before. I like a plain dial, but there's so much going on here. Like from the subdials with the indices on the subdials. You got those skinny battens, I guess we'll call them, with the square ends to it. Obviously, that's something to do with the original release to some extent, but I just feel like I can't pay attention to the whole watch itself. Like I'm looking at something every time I look at it. But I do see the attraction of it being a very vintage inspired chronograph. Like it looks like what it's supposed to look like. So I think they've done a good job of the release. I just don't think it's my style, but I can see exactly why it's in your vein for sure.
Yeah, and there's no secret that I like vintage inspired watches or vintage watches in general. So that's why this sort of stood out to me. But in saying that, the colors are quite out there. It's it's a mixture of black, orange, yellow, like a photinid,
beigey,
creamy, silver. It's a lot, like you said, it's a lot going on there. But I guess the most interesting pull of this watch is that it's a 38 millimeter chronograph. You don't really see that often. Chronographs are usually bigger. From my experience, is 40, 42 is most chronographs. So having a 38 millimeter chronograph was definitely a little bit of a pull for me. I'm yet to pull the trigger, so to speak. And for all the listeners out there that would like to see this, we will put a link in the show notes just to let you know. It came out on July the 27th, and it is open for 5 weeks. So the pre-order period is open for 5 weeks, and anyone who orders in that period, they will fulfill the order, and then after that, it won't be made again. So it will be a limited run, but in its own way. They're not just limiting the numbers. They're allowing people to order as much as they want, and then they'll cut it off.
Yeah, it's a good way of doing a release, that's for sure. Last thing on this one for me, when looking at it compared to the Chronoking Mecha Quartz, just the standard black dial, I think what I dislike about this model itself, the Paul Newman, is the use of Nivada Grenchen on the dial with the N in the shield above it. I think if you go to the next Chronoking there and remove the N in the shield and clear up the dial of that one little thing, I think it does wonders for the watch.
For sure. And I think some of the watches, they go with the original, they just write Nivada in there, which is what they've done previously as well. So and again, we can go into why they do these things. It might be a conscious choice because they're trying to keep it close to the thing, but let's be honest, like in some of their watches, like the Chronomaster Aviator Sea Diver, the CASD, as I've seen in some forums, it just says Nivada Grenchen. So again, it's a design choice that went with that. I guess clutters the dial more than it needs to.
Yeah, but this watch isn't made just to please me, so it does not matter whatsoever.
For sure. So anyway, I thought this was very cool. Listeners, check it out. If you think this is something for you, go ahead and order it and flick me a message and tell me how it is, because I'm not quite sure if I will pull the trigger, but anyway.
I feel like you're real close. I feel like you're very, very close.
I'm convincing myself. We'll see.
Because you've bounced between a couple of other options, and you seem to be coming back here. And I think this is going to be the purchase.
Well, we'll see, shall we? Let's see next week.
Oh, now we're putting a time frame on it now.
Well, it is 5 weeks, right? So anyway, I still got a couple more weeks. All right. Well, look, I think we're at the end of the episode now. It's been a great episode. We've had a fantastic chat. And remember, this is just the first of this series, the Watches 101. We're going to be doing this periodically over the course of the podcast, and we'll split it up into different topics. And again, we'll probably revisit as we need to. Hope the listeners enjoyed it. If there's any questions, please reach out. Reach out to Justin, reach out to myself in our Instagrams, reach out to podcast Instagram, or send us an email. And we would love to get some questions from you guys. We are trying to do a special Q&A episode soon.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we've got a couple already. We just want to keep adding to that so that we can answer all your questions.
Perfect, mate. Well, if that is it, enjoy the rest of your week.
You too, mate. And we will be back here next week. Cheers.
Perfect. Take care, mate. Thank you for joining us on Overtime the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
You can find us on our Instagrams at Overtime the podcast, at Kinda Average Watches, and at Horology Capture.
We appreciate your support and value your feedback. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please hit us up. We would love to hear from you.
Until next time.